President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, could face up to 17 years of jail time as he pleaded guilty on Thursday to all 9 charges in his federal tax case. He could face up to 17 years in prison for charges of tax evasion, filing fraudulent tax returns, and failing to pay taxes. The judge said he could also fine Hunter Biden $1.3 million. District Judge in Los Angeles, Mark Scarsi, who was a Trump appointee, set a sentencing date for December 16th.
The possibility of a presidential pardon looms overhead, but Joe Biden has ruled this out. And White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters yesterday, it's no, it's still no, when they questioned whether the plea deal had affected President Biden's decision about whether he would consider pardoning his son. So I don't know why they keep asking him this. He's been pretty consistent from the start. Maybe they thought that because now he's not the Democratic candidate that he would change his mind. But I think we're not going to see a pardon for his son. It's interesting to see the media landscape now around Hunter Biden and around Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson. Very different treatment of people accused of being foreign agents for different reasons. But I just don't see Biden coming around on this. Amber, do you think he's going to change his mind?
I don't rule anything out with this election cycle, but I appreciate that Karine Jean-Pierre has actually given a consistent, clear answer as opposed to sort of equivocating and waffling as she's often known to do. The interesting part of this case for me, though, is the timing of this guilty plea, because this case has been bouncing around for a number of months now. You would have thought that if Hunter Biden was interested in pleading guilty, that he would have been negotiating this with the prosecutors well before they actually appeared in court. But it looks like this deal was basically hammered out on the steps of the courthouse between Abby Lowell and the prosecutors. And I was watching some legal analysis on this over the weekend, and the suggestion was that if you wait until late in the game to plead guilty, not only does it make your sentencing date pushed until after the election, but it also negates the ability for you to have to cooperate in some manner with the prosecution, namely to give other people up. So it's possible that this is a form of protection for other people who might have been involved in some of Hunter Biden's foreign business ventures.
Yeah, I think that someone like Hunter Biden taking this plea deal at this point in time, there's probably some negotiation as to what would be included. We know that his team has been very skilled in negotiating deals before, deals that even judges question.
The best
And
deals.
so I think that, yes, yeah. It was, the best trade deal in the history of deals in the federal court. But I think that, yeah, he's not going to get away with, an agreement for immunity on any other crimes with this one, that's for sure. But I do think that, it could have been the negotiation process, because I really don't see this impacting the election any more than it already has, right? Biden's not the nominee. A lot of the bad press swirling around about this and the evidence against Hunter Biden has come out already. So I don't think him taking a plea deal now versus later sentencing before or after the election is going to influence Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's vote share, especially when you have Donald Trump facing so many criminal charges himself, and he is the candidate. I think people have sort of divorced Hunter Biden from the Democratic ticket in their mind if they're on the left, and this was something that they cared about. I think there are a lot of people who care about corruption and would like to see further action taken, but we're not seeing that from either side. So I don't think it's going to influence the election very much. But I do think personally, Biden dealing with this in his last days in office has probably, I don't know, soured his lame duck, if you can call it that, when you step aside as the nominee, the presumptive nominee, his lame duck days as president. It's kind of sad that he has to deal with this, but he's such a family man. He's my son and I love him. Not enough to pardon him. I think he sees that as, furthering the corruption narrative.
Yeah, electorally, I think you're right. This won't have much impact. I think it would be much more damaging for the Biden-Harris administration if he did take this to trial. So just from a political strategy standpoint, it was the right move for Hunter Biden to plead guilty. He released a statement after the plea, and he said, quote, "I went to trial in Delaware, not realizing the anguish it would cause my family, and I will not put them through it again." Of course, that was in reference to the case with the gun charges where he had purchased a gun while actively addicted to drugs. He continued saying, when it became clear to me that the same prosecutors were focused not on justice, but on dehumanizing me for my actions during my addiction, there was only one path left for me. I will not subject my family to more pain, more invasions of privacy, and needless embarrassment. And time again, when I hear these statements from Hunter Biden, it seems like he wants to be absolved for anything that he did while he was addicted. And that's not how you're supposed to take accountability for your actions or responsibility for yourself when you get clean. The idea that you wave a magic wand and because you're sober now, everything you did while addicted doesn't matter is a fallacy. And so these statements, he put out a similar one ahead of the gun charge trial, and I think it rubs a lot of people the wrong way that he thinks that he can just accuse people of belittling his addiction. When, yes, obviously people make choices when they're addicted that they might not otherwise. But again, that doesn't erase the slate for you. You still have to make amends, take accountability for the things that you did while you were struggling.
Right. When you're at the consulate of Italy asking for some kind of deal to be made for Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company, you're invoking your father's name to get some influence. You can't have it both ways. You can't be associated with Joe Biden to get a better business deal, but want to be exempt from the press and media attention you get from being Joe Biden's son and using his name to get business deals done. If he lived a very private life and never did any of that, if he was even a businessman that kept to himself and didn't deal with, foreign companies, maybe they were based in the United States, that would have, made his life a little bit easier. But I think if he lived that kind of lifestyle, of course it would be wrong for the media to be scrutinizing his actions. But I think this is more so about the misconduct as it relates to corruption and using an American vice president's name to get deals done. And so, yeah, you just can't have it both ways. I totally understand someone's right to privacy and that addiction is hard and it's painful for the family. But unfortunately, this is a life that the family has chosen for themselves. And he tried to use it for his own personal advantages. And that's just something that I think you open the door yourself for that. And to play victim once you're already in the room is just not a good next move. It's not a good way to garner sympathy from the press or get them to stop their attack line.
Right. Well, and that's exactly right. The problem with Hunter Biden's business dealings was because he was using the fact that his father was vice president to peddle influence abroad. Even worse than Ukraine was the fact that he was on the board of this Chinese energy company, CEFC. That's an active, adversary of the United States. And the IRS whistleblowers who came forward during this investigation who said they were hamstrung from looking into potential connections to other members of the Biden family, namely Joe Biden himself, is very concerning. I hope at the very least that House Republicans continue their investigation into this, because I don't feel we've really even scratched the surface of what Hunter Biden exactly was up to and who all knew what and when. But I'll probably keep wishing, because as we know, Congress is not very great at doing their job. We're going to have to leave it there. We'll be back with more Rising after this.